They said it was clean, too cheap to meter. Built the dome and cooked the beaker. Said the rod was safely sealed in drums, but left them leaking out of Idaho slums. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done. They chase the sun, all fusion proud. Ignore the barrels stacked in clouds. Promise stars in every socket, while curium settled in the market. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done. Chart is clean, while whales rolled up inside the submarine. Blame the algae, blame the rain, but never trace the gamma chain. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done.
Hello everybody.
Now the rods are rusting, the record spins. Mama warned them, too many sins. Keep your son, keep your lab coat pride, till you fix the waste you tried to hide. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear's not dumb. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear is fun. Hallelujah, being anti-nuclear has won. Hallelujah, nuclear exceptionalism is done.
Everybody's doing good. Looks like volume is a bit low. How is everybody? Yeah, that volume doesn't look... Is my volume okay? My volume looks off. What's going on with that tonight? How did we get to that spot? How is the volume on your side, folks? It's looking a bit iffy on my side. Might check. 1, 2. Might check. 3, 4. What have I got done this time, I wonder? Anybody? Is the volume? Might check. 1, 2. Got a good show for everybody tonight. I just want to make sure the volume is okay. I had a few issues on your side, my side. Hang on. Testing. I'm going to assume I got volume on your end. I don't know why tonight. It's one of those nights. You can call in at 709-589-4406. Madness. That didn't work. Excuse me. Volume's fine. Thank you, Colette. Good stuff. It's normal. Deleting comments. I don't see any comments deleted. I don't see nothing deleted there. That the song I just played is Nuclear Exceptionalism, and you You can link right over to it. Excellent. Deleting comments? I don't know, because I know sometimes people are not seeing other people's comments, whatever that's all about. The censorship on YouTube. You said it was fine, didn't disappear, eh? Because you, like on my end, if I remove a comment or something like that, right? Or you remove a comment, it'll tell you right there, right? Comment removed, and your name will be by it, or my name would be by it on my end. And so that was something to do with your computer. It's on your end that time. Who knows with YouTube with the censorship, right? So here we go. Here we go. We got a poll for everybody tonight. Should nuclear power be banned, considering Fukushima's caused a worldwide mass extinction level event? Let's get after this. We're a late show tonight. That happens once in a while. Better late than never. EDF finds a hint of stress corrosion crack at their nuclear reactors again. And there's a lot of nuclear plants out there. If they checked, they would find a stress corrosion crack in it. Electricity de France, which is EDF, which is the French government, found indication that the stress corrosion cracks may again affect pipes at a nuclear reactor that it fixed 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago, risking a revival of tensions on Europe power and gas market. Stress corrosion cracks. Is this the same one? The French power giant had to halt part of its atomic plants, which are the backbones of the Western Europe's electricity market. All their eggs in one basket. And a stupid one at that. To fix cracked pipes in 2022 and 2023, which sent the price of electricity from... They had to bring in... I don't know, there was an awful lot of welders. I was going to say 1,000 welders, but it's probably close to 1,000. Sending electricity prices soaring as repairs coincide with dwindling Russian gas supplies to the continent. No, that was because of self-imposed sanctions. The reason we have such high prices on gas and commodities is not because Russia stopped sending it, it's because countries refuse to take it from Russia. And not the people of the country, but a handful of politicians in the country that are directly connected with the United Nations. It was an orchestrated inflation. Prolonged stoppage at a reactor which had been halted since April the 5th for maintenance. They're going to keep it shut down. That's how they discovered it, because it's shut down in the first place, right? They have a lot of transient workers there because there's so much radiation. They want to use their own employees for most of the jobs for the for changing the fuel, because you have to open the reactor core. They're not going to put their own employees in it. And increase of infant mortalities every time they change fuel because you release so much radiation, right? Hard to get started tonight. My goodness, I'm an hour and a half later than normal, so it's not going to be a big show or something. Just burnt out. It was a long day yesterday. I had a long day today. And again, probably heat stroke or something from yesterday. I still... Anyway, we got to get a little show in tonight, hopefully. Can play a role in the appearance and stress corrosion cracks, Nuclear Safety Authority. My volume don't seem like it's high enough for some reason on my end. Hi, everybody. Let me just check my audio for a second. Because I did unplug. I never had no audio when I tried to start before the show. About 5 minutes before I was ready to start the show, I had no audio. And I have an equalizer, I have a preamps, I have a lot of systems, right? There's the the cloud system. There's a lot going on before my audio makes it out. And hopefully it's okay. It seemed okay with the headphones on that time. Just being overcautious, maybe, I don't know. And that's a really nice microphone. That's $800 microphone too, right? I tried the cheap ones, $200 and $300 and $400. It wasn't until you got up close to $1,000 that you actually get the quality. Well, just the equalizer and the preamp was $1,000, and I got it on sale. So you're approaching 2,000. The cloud systems, they're about $275 each. And then you don't want to use cheap wires. It's torture trying to put together an operation to get it to work the way it's supposed to work. Frequent load ramps up and down, ramps up and ramps down to accommodate increasing volumes of renewables. They were trying to blame, can play a role in the appearance and stress corrosion cracks because so they're blaming renewables for the cracks in the nuclear power plant because they have to change the speed to accommodate clean renewables. That's a bit of a problem because if that's true, then that's a big incentive for them. Like Canada 2 years ago closed over 700 large solar and wind farms because they competed with nuclear was the consensus. France studies if renewables are linked to nuclear plant strain. So they can't quantify it, right? If you run these reactors at high pressures, it'll cause cracks too, by the way. And they're running at higher volume because they have less reactors. And they're trying to keep the same percentage worldwide, so all nuclear plants are running at higher. It's not because of the so-called intermittent renewables that France happens to be using. France is not using geothermal. If geothermal was there, you wouldn't need nuclear. Second nuclear reactor at the Canadian New Brunswick plant, which is on the Atlantic Ocean in the Bay of Fundy, at Point Lepreau, which is brutally ineffective nuclear plant, but is brutal amount of tritium-3H released into the environment. It's 14,600,000 trillion atoms legally is released of tritium-3H into the environment and the ocean each year, which is equivalent to a massive nuclear event, a massive nuclear release at a nuclear plant, because Canadian CANDU reactors can't contain tritium-3H in particular, can't control the neutrons right outside the reactor, so it creates the tritium-3H, which is nasty for humans because it's organically bound. It's nasty for every species, not just humans, but Holt, which made a comment in an interview with Brunswick News detailing what being called Eastern Energy Partnership. Eastern Energy Partnership. She's the premier of New Brunswick. Susan Holt said the possibility of a second nuclear reactor is just speculation. At Point Lepreau is a part of the nation-building project pitch to the Carney government. No, they were pitching this to Trudeau. Holt says there's already been talks with Ontario Power Generation over partnership to build it. So they're talking about the boiling water reactor X300. This is a 24-story building. These are not small modular reactors. These are 3 times the size of Point Lepreau. It's the pitch currently being formulated by the region's premier. No, This was formulated for the disgusting parasite Trudeau, the hideous monster Justin Trudeau, the traitor of humanity and Canadians Justin Trudeau. And he stepped down, and Mark Carden, he stepped in, and he ended up through some dubious voting policies getting elected. For major projects in the national interest that, if accepted, will be prioritized and receive expedited federal approval. Just like, first off, they haven't built these reactors. Normally, in a normal world, in a sane world, you would build these at one of the national laboratories. In Canada, that would be the scumbag Chalk River. And you would run it for quite a few years to find out the flaws, then you would redesign it to try to engineer out these flaws. ARC, Clean Energy and Moltex, which was created by the provincial government, started up a company and gave that company $10 million. These two companies from United Kingdom shows up, Clean Energy and Moltex, and that company that was started by the Canadian government from New Brunswick gave both of those companies $5 million each. Then the company closed shop. And so ARC Clean Energy, which is the furthest thing from Clean Energy, same as Moltex, they wanted to recycle the plutonium X oxide fuel with the Canadian used fuel. And this is a Canadian small modular reactor. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm burnt out. They're 24-story buildings. The Canadian, they're going to put 12 feet of it under the ground. Do you know of a 12-story building underground anywhere in Canada or anywhere else? If there is, there's not many, and they're not open to the public. Canada's going to put a 12-story reactor underground and another 12 stories above it. It's a 240-foot building. These are not small. You can't build these in factories and ship the parts. Small reactor per se, right? Tulsi Gabbard released a unhinged video claiming warmongers want a nuclear conflict they know they'll survive. I watched the video. It wasn't an unhinged video at all. This was the independent United Kingdom, which is owned by a Russian oligarch. And she was quite reasonable in the video. She wasn't pulling her hair out and screaming, which is appropriate when it comes to a catastrophic event anyway. The intelligence, which Trump's administration intelligence director posted a video warning of a global elite she claimed were pushing a major superpowers towards a nuclear holocaust on Tuesday. Right, there's India and Pakistan, there's Russia and Ukraine, there's idiot Israel and Iran. All of these, there's an incredible amount of nuclear threats going on. Right, we've been covering that. It's 100% true what she's saying. The purpose of the video and its grim theme was unclear. It was very clear, right? She was warning people they need to stop. They need to be very careful of all this nuclear posturing that we're seeing. But appeared aimed at driving fears among her 3.7 million followers. Well, the majority of her followers were the medias worldwide. The journalists, that's what they do. They go out and they follow all the politicians. They follow a lot of the policymakers and stuff like that. And that's how they report their news. They don't do investigative journalism anymore. Concerning a supposed cabal of powerful people, yeah, it's called a military-industrial complex. The more fear, the more money is to be made from the weapons that are going to be sold. That's how they sell weapons, is through the fear-mongering. Australia's going bankrupt because of the fear-mongering with the nuclear submarines, the nuclear this, the nuclear that. Individual targets of right-wing conspiracy theories. And this subject include big Democratic funding billionaires like George Soros and Microsoft tycoon Bill Gates. How is that not true then? These are the worst humans I know about. It's up to us, the people, to speak up and demand an end to the madness. We must reject the path to nuclear war and work towards a world where no one has to live in fear of a nuclear holocaust. Well, the Palestinians have been exposed to a nuclear holocaust. I think it's equal to 20 Nagasaki bombs worth of munitions have been dropped on the heads of the Palestinian that don't have a navy, don't have an army, don't have a military, don't have a defense mechanism, don't have bomb shelters. The idiots in Israel, morons, like the orthodoxic idiot machine over there. And then the Zionists that have spent their whole career with their nose up their ass. Many commenters on social media were taken aback. No, not many commenters. The pro-nuclear community was. With some calling it unhinged. There's always you can pick and choose. You can frame this story at least 100 different ways in the comment section. Sure, the bigoted and the prejudice and her efforts to blame modern day conflicts and political elites as a common tactic for the far right. It's a common tactic, period, worldwide. Every media does the exact same thing, by the way. You scumbags at the Independence, you worthless scum at the Independence. TechCrunch. Instead of talking about stupid electronics, they're pumping nuclear. Standard Nuclear emerges from the ashes of a failed startup, which was ultra-safe nuclear. So Standard Nuclear buys, at the auction block, buys ultra-safe nuclear assets, whatever NuScale didn't buy. Standard Nuclear is an entirely new company, but it's not, is it? It's built on the assets, the ashes, from the bankruptcy of Ultra Safe Nuclear Corporation for $28 million. And they got, it's absurd. So what happened was Ultra Safe, a lot of the key players are still going to be there. So they didn't really go bankrupt, they just changed names to avoid obligations and investors. Stole the investors' money is what they done. Standard Nuclear emerges from stilt with $42 million in funding to make advanced nuclear fuel. And this fuel is going to be used by which is going to be high assay and plutonium mixed oxide fuel, I would imagine, by the sounds of it. The new company's CEO served as the vice president of Ultra Safe Nuclear. So the vice president is the company's new CEO. So they went bankrupt in order to avoid paying the investors who built them. Just like every other nuclear company is doing. That's why you don't want to invest in them. How's the censorship tonight? Brutal again. See the censorship last night? I had almost 300 views at around 4 hours. And when I went live tonight, I had 315. The video stopped for like 10 hours straight, didn't budge. And then I got like 1 view. Just evil industry, boy. Just so the people in it are such worthless scum. And I got it from a source. They don't have mirrors at their workplace. Either one of them can stand to look at one. Ultra-safe, non-ultra-safe nuclear, which didn't exist outside of stealing the investors' money, has been working to commercialize a type of nuclear fuel known as Trisol, uranium fuel pellets coated in a layer of carbon ceramic-based materials. They call poppy seed-sized particles are considered to be more resistant to melting down, but they can't quantify that assertion. They don't know. Once it starts melting down, it hits 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. It don't matter what you coat it with. Everything else is going to melt down too. It's an old idea, been around since the 50s. What does that tell us? Though the fuel isn't widely used today, there's an understatement. They made change on several startups, including Google's Curios, Amazon's backed X Energy, are planning to use Triso in their reactors. They don't even have an application into the regulatory agency for a reactor. Ultra-safe nuclear, which, just like all the other small modular reactor companies, stole the investors' money, was funded by one investor, Richard Hollis Helms, and his family. They applied over $100 million to ultra-safe nuclear, along with $24 million in loans. So they went bankrupt to get rid of the $24 million in loans. And then they sold the asset to another company. He wrote off as a loss. And there was other investors. It wasn't just them in ultra-safe nuclear. They took a lot of money in from the government. That's how they got their foundation. Yeah, there was original money put in. North Korea appears to have added to its nuclear complex. So what? Who cares? Good for them, man. If they didn't, they would look like Ukraine. And what could be an additional, it could be, this is an opinion. And of course, this is the United Nations opinion. An additional enrichment facility to ramp. What did the United Nations do to North Korea? Let me see if I can find it for you. Let me see. Go to the N. The big N. Yeah, I got it. Here's what United Nations done to North Korea. They burnt down every town in North Korea. Every town. Every city. Every village. And they done it with napalm. So the women and children were set on fire. The most hideous... Like if I took a version of napalm and threw it on anybody, I would be go down in history as one of the worst criminals on the planet. Burning people alive. So United Nations, in their police action, millions dead, millions missing, millions of refugee camps, millions unaccounted for, millions of orphans. After North Korea was enslaved for 50 years by Japan, and then when Nagasaki, Hiroshima happened, the League of Nations changed their names to United Nations, and they went in there, and now they've been enslaved for 70 plus years, 120 years. Ostracized from the world, because the United Nations for over 70 years has this incredible contempt for the women and children, the civilian population. They have United Nations done this. So United Nations napalmed every village, every community, every city in South Korea. After United Nations burned down every town in North Korea, United Nations military is now simultaneously bombing or rocketing 7 different non-nuclear countries. 8th Army Chemical Officer Donald Bold is quoted as saying, on an average good day, pilots in the United Nations Korean War, because that's what it was, dropped 70,000 gallons of napalm a day. 45,000 gallons of napalm from the U.S. Air Forces, 10 to 20,000 gallons of napalm by the Navy, and 4,000 to 5,000 gallons by the Marines, who nicknamed the burning jellied gasoline cooking oil, cooking people and their pets and everything else on their farms. Perhaps 2 million Koreans, North and South, were killed in the Korean War. It was estimated 4 million and just South Korea died from the bombardment of the United Nations, all in the name of opposing the rule of force. 4 million casualties, at least 2 million were civilians. And after Truman fired General MacArthur in May 1951, the former Supreme Commander testified to Congress that the war in Korea had already almost destroyed the nation of 20 million people. I have never seen such devastation, and I have seen, I guess, as much blood and disaster as any living man. And it just curled my stomach the last time I was there. After I looked at that wreckage and those thousands of women and children, I vomited it. That's United Nations. That's your loving United Nations, the coward of humanity, United Nations. Ralphie L. Grossi, the Director General. What a disgusting, despicable, hideous, odious, monstrous, despicable... I already said despicable, didn't it? I know. I'm struggling here. Bear with me. I was trying to get his picture. Subhuman, eh? Well, he's the furthest thing from a human I've ever seen, is this creature. He makes a living by going around pretending that he's a good person. He was never a good person, never could be a good person. That's why he got that job. Imagine just applying for that job and knowing that you have to destroy millions of people's lives constantly and species. How's the censorship tonight? Let's have a look here. Ooh, brutal. 7 viewers, eh? Wow. For a show you're doing for a decade. No matter what the show, if I was doing any show besides nuclear, you'd be shocked how many people would be on my show. There'd be thousands and thousands of people. Well, we started the show on the 11th, now it's the 12th. Let's keep her going here. Got 10 votes, 10 likes, and 7 people. Really, 7 people. That's all I can find my show, 7 people. The truth is something, isn't it? When the show will be over, I'll have like 20 views. I don't do it for views. I do it because we have to fight this evil known as the nuclear industry with every fiber in our bodies. A report to the Board of Governors from Grossi this week that the nuclear watchdog is monitoring the construction of a new building, which has dimensions and features similar to the cakes and enrichment plant. As one of its first reconciliatory steps, South Korea has... You get a load of this one. This is hilarious. South Korea has suspended the broadcast of anti-North Korean propaganda via loudspeakers along the borders. South Korea have loudspeakers on the borders where they're blasting into the country. Includes international news about Kim's secretive regime and K-pop music. They're playing K-pop music. South Korea resumed the broadcast last year in retaliation for trash and manure-filled balloons from North Korea had sent over. So North Korea was sending over balloons of trash and horse shit and cow shit. So when it lands in their country, then wherever it lands, they get more trees growing. Jesus. These people are idiots. This is the idiotic stuff we're talking about, folks. Welcome to the nutty world. It's part of our effort to implement the pledge to restore trust between the two Koreas, build peace on the Korean Peninsula. The Defense Ministry said in a statement on Wednesday, it's part of our effort. Not blasting propaganda on loudspeakers into a country is part of your effort to restore trust, is it? You got to be the stupidest people I've ever come across. You take stupid to a whole different level. The South Korea military. South Korea's foreign ministry said it is closely monitoring North Korea's nuclear facilities and its activities in coordination with the United States and other countries. I don't think Kin wants to kiss and make up with you, you pieces of shit. And South Korea is a disgusting culture, eh? U.S. firm plans 10 nuclear reactors with 1,000 megawatts. So normally 1,000 megawatts, which is a gigawatt, powers 1 million homes. The small modular reactors, 1,000 megawatts, will only power 500,000 homes. See that piece of shit over there? Those people are such worthless people, eh? Westinghouse. The project aims to meet an objective under the United States administration's executive orders, quadruple U.S. nuclear capacity by 2050. So you need 200 gigawatts to quadruple. Right? You need 200 gigawatt more. So having 1 gigawatt is the nuclear renaissance, apparently, in the United States, folks. There's a gigawatt. And there's going to be 10 small modular reactors. Nobody knows what design they're talking about. Building 10 reactors, big reactors, could cost as much as $75 billion. That's not counting the overruns. Really, you're going to build 10 large reactors for $7.5 billion each, are you? Really? That's hilarious. A substantial price tag for United States utility, already wary after the troubled construction of AP's 1,000 units at the Georgia Volt sites, that more than doubled, it was almost triple the 14 original buildings. So how can you go ahead and build one for $7.5 billion when you couldn't even build one for $30 billion? Where's that technology? Where's that supply chain coming from? That project saw cost more than double from $14 billion, significantly dampening industry enthusiasm for large reactors. Well, didn't Westinghouse go bankrupt? Didn't they get bought up by Brookfield? Small modular reactors, a rising contender. Like, what are you talking about? You haven't even built one. You haven't built a small modular reactor. How can you put it on a pedestal? And why would you when you have so many other... You have geothermal. If you took all this energy and put it into geothermal, we wouldn't have any issues. The only reason we got issues is because you're demanding nuclear that doesn't even exist in your energy sector. It's so corrupted, it won't look at anything which would come out looking better than idiot moron nuclear industry. And the people that work in the industry are morons. It's a moron industry. Perpetual morons. I can't get over the censorship tonight. That's shocking. Just a fucking hateful industry. Industry of scumbags. It's unbelievable. Scumbag industry, this industry. There's not a single person in the industry that you could like. Like, it's the strangest, they're the strangest creatures too. Their entire existence is a make-believe fairy tale. Right? All the stories are basically a fairy tale of an industry. None of them are being honest about the industry. And so people believe in these fairy tales. When they start looking deeper into the industry, they realize it's just a house of cards. And very, very old and fragile cards. Large reactors dominate the executive order. Small modular reactor developers are actively courting utilities. You don't have a product. Like, all this effort, but nothing going into geothermal. If you put this campaign that's going for nuclear, that's perpetually promoting nuclear, into geothermal for 60 days, our problems would all be over. The biggest problem to humanity is the freaking idiot machine known as the nuclear industry. The idiotic, self-centered, egotistic, and everybody in the nuclear industry was to flip and go after geothermal. They'd all be making a fortune. They'd all have incredible careers. They could actually tell their families the truth about the industries. They wouldn't have to lie to their families and loved ones and pretend that they're good people. Offer to co-locate multiple units to replicate the output of a single large plant, while promising faster builds and lower cost risks. You don't have the technology to make any of these promises. You can't promise faster and lower costs when you don't even have an application into the regulatory agency. You don't have a fucking design. You don't have a design. And all you're doing is stopping humanity from having a future and destroying the planet with the radioactive fallout. You're idiots. You're actual idiots. You're the worst humans conceivable. You're the lowest forms of life. Your entire legacy is predicated upon a fantasy that is never going to come to fruition. You get a little cranky sometimes. Companies like NuScale and Holtec that don't have an application into the regulatory agency, don't have a license, don't have a design. Like, oh, we're thinking about this and we're thinking about that and we're hoping for this and we're hoping for that and we don't have a supply chain for anything. But you can't have anything unless you use us, which don't have a product. And you exclude everything. Nothing is allowed to exist. None of you can share the transmission lines on a nuclear that is designed on purpose for the previous generations of idiots and scum. He's an award-winning journalist with a diverse portfolio, defense and politics, and technology and crime and environment and human rights and foreign policies. And he went to college, so shut up. He's a dipstick who's licking boots in the nuclear industry because that's the only way he can make a paycheck. That's the definition of a coward and a moron. Rolls-Royce to power 3 million UK homes, 1.5 gigawatt small modular reactors. Well, like, what are you talking about? First off, their small modular reactors are 500 megawatts. They're massive. They got nothing to do with the definition of a small modular reactor. So stop being a scumbag and calling them that. The small modular reactor is currently unproven globally, with no fully operational sites. What do you mean fully operational? They got no sites. They can't open their mouth without lying. This author, he's a versatile journalist and a news editor, and he covers regular and breaking news. So shut the fuck up, Dana. With a strong curiosity about all things that fall under science. Wow! In other words, he's done nothing his entire life. He's built nothing his entire life. And he stopped humanity from having a future for his entire life. Welcome to the nuclear industry. That's the norm. Standard Nuclear emerges from stilt with $42 million in funding. And the stocks are gone crazy because people are fucking gullible. The Standard Nuclear team, you'll love this one, is comprised of over 24 employees from the Department of Energy National Laboratory with 150 years of combined Department of Energy National Laboratories experience. So they were lobbyists, in other words. It's the most pathetic criteria conceivable on top of that. Trisol fuel will be used in the vast majority of new reactor designs because of the corruption. Right? The fuel doesn't even exist. Its mission is to reliably deliver the essential building blocks of nuclear power at scale. Nuclear Aurora reactor could power United States F-35 air bases in Alaska for 10 years on plutonium mixed oxide fuel / recycled uranium. Which is illegal, by the way, in the United States. It's illegal in Canada. La 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 la. Just being stupid is the only way you can make a living these days. Look at this. This is similar to the Canadian small modular reactor design, except it looked like an ice cream bucket upside down. It's about the same height. But the reality of it is, it's actually a 24-story building with 12 stories underground, 12 stories above it. 12 stories underground. Oh, no, it's a small modular reactor. You can fit in the back pocket of a fucking King Kong, Dana. Yeah, it's nuclear. In a landmark move for military energy resilience, Oklo received a notice of intent to award from the Defense Logistic Agencies on behalf of the Department of Air Force, U.S. Department of Defense, to deploy a nuclear micro-reactor. These are not micro-reactors. These are massive, stupid designs that haven't even been built in experimental capacities. A new generation of liquid metal cooled fast reactors. These are breeder reactors they're talking about. All the ones they built in history have melted down. On high assay uranium, HALEU, between 5 to 19%. Uranium-235. This is the emissions from this site is catastrophic. Everything we're replicating cells, enabling higher burn-up, longer fuel cycles, more compact core designs, and you can't quantify any of the assertions when you don't actually have a test reactor to quantify your assertions. La 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 la. Oklo to provide nuclear power to Air Force Base after a 2-year delay. The stock surges 24%. They don't have a reactor. Why would the stock surge? Because of this propaganda, right? Robbing the unsuspecting investors. They don't have an application into the regulatory agencies. Like the whole process is absurdly unrealistic. Talon Energy stock rises as nuclear partnership with Amazon is expanded. Talon Energy doesn't have a nuclear reactor. They don't have small modular reactors. Neither does anybody else. Why would their stocks rise? This is the same game every 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. You see the same game where they come out and pump these stocks everywhere. The stocks are rising crazy because people bought into it. And then 2 weeks later, they're going to lose 30% of their money because they bought into the propaganda of the small modular reactors. And meanwhile, though, nobody else is allowed to exist because they got to keep this Ponzi scheme going, right? So there can be no solutions to energy because we can't have energy unless we use something that doesn't exist, rather than like geothermal would actually exist and checks all the boxes and can be up and running in just idiot short amount of times, and that any contractor can go ahead and get started on. You don't have to train 10,000 welders. You don't got to wait 16 years for it to go through its startup. And it's the whole idiotic. You don't got to hire hundreds of security guards. You don't need thousands of people there every day. No. Let's use the most resource-intensive industry that doesn't even exist yet as the only solution we can. And then now they're piggybacking everything on the artificial intelligence. Well, we got to have nuclear. We need artificial intelligence. Whatever, we're doomed. Really, you might be doomed, but the rest of the world wouldn't be. Part of a $20 billion data center investment in the state. It's got to be nuclear. It can't be anything else. If it's not nuclear, then we should blow the planet up. Let's attack Russia. We got gotta use nuclear somewhere. Of course, Google now is pro-nuclear. I'm not even allowed to stream on Google. The industry has been stalking me online, stalking everything I do on the internet, stalking all my research expeditions, stalking me in real time. It's absurd. I'm fucking nobody. Why stalk me? Because they're anal about everything. Their whole existence is about being... They got the job because they're morons. And they're just useful idiots for the industry. That's just like their parents and their parents and their parents. And their grandpappy and their grandpappy. They're just useful idiots for the industry, and that's all they know. They don't know how to be a real human. Balancing the tech titans' needs with those of homeowners struggling to pay their power bill. How is the most resource-intensive, expensive energy going to help the homeowners struggling to pay their power bills because of the artificial inflation by banning products, resources, and commodities from Russia? The country didn't sign on to it, just a handful of people with the United Nations in each country did. You fucking worthless cunts that are doing this. Europe's fastest growing nuclear fusion company raises $148 million in record funding rounds. Fusion? $148 million. You won't see that going to geothermal. If you took all of these incredibly useless idiots and put them to work on geothermal, they actually might come up with solutions for the last 2 miles. Geothermals are already like just Proxima fusion. Proxima fusion. They come up with all these grandiose names, but they don't have a product. It's got to be fusion or small modular reactors. It's got to be something like that. It can't be anything else. There's got to be fusion. Hallelujah. Only fusion can work. German startup got $148 million US dollars. He said, "This is great. We can all get swimming pools in our backyards now. Our kids are going to college. They'll take over the job when we retire in a couple of years." Buzz around nuclear fusion is kicked in overdrive. They're working on the same technology from 1904. The patent that they're working with is a patent from 1904. Right? There is no innovation in or nuclear renaissance. 660 gigawatts of solar last year. They doubled the capacity of nuclear worldwide. Came online in renewables, just solar rather, in 12 months. And if you compare it to the year before that of solar, when you combine 2 of them together, you're talking 3 to 4 times the total capacity of nuclear in 80 years came online in renewables in just 2 years. And because geothermal is the black sheep of the family, so to speak, right? And then why shows that design? Well, you don't know what a nuclear fusion plant is going to look like. I doubt if it's going to look like that. It's going to be much bigger than that. With investors, hopefully the company can soon develop the world's first commercial nuclear fusion plant. Again, this is absurd to suggest that they're even close to it, which was co-led by investors Cherry Ventures and Balderton Capital to represent the largest private fusion investment round in Europe to date. But why? Neither fusion nor small modular reactors are the right solution. Advocates for, say, the technology which is in the process that powers the sun and stars, so it can, because it's in space, it can eject a million miles into space, the plasmas, to make the fusion. That's how the fusion works. It can't work in a box. Can't work with magnets. And the magnets is not about the world's biggest magnets that we produced for the nuclear fusion is to solve an equation. It's not meant as a solution. It's meant to see if you can contain for a little while 300 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Because that's going to melt everything it touches. And it's the stupidest solution that you could possibly ever come up. It's acknowledgement that they don't have a solution when you go to these types of extremes. Can play a pivotal role in energy transition. Like geothermal could. It actually exists. There's tons of storage solutions that actually exist. No, they can't have it. No, because then the world will not like nuclear. They only like nuclear because we keep telling these fantasy stories over and over and over and over and over and over and everywhere you go. Scientists and engineers have been scrambling to recreate and harness nuclear fusion since the theory first understood in the 30s. The patent is from 1904 that they're using for fusion. Not 1930s, but from 1904. $120 years ago. The same patent. There is no innovation. There is no new technology. There is no new designs. There is no renaissance in fusion or small modular reactor or the nuclear industry. All of the designs are based on very old designs. There is no innovation whatsoever. It's the same song and dance from every new company, every new player. Every presentation is predicated upon the same patents from many, many, many decades ago. The so-called molten salt reactors are based on designs from the 50s that didn't work, but just was not talked about recently, so they brought it out as if it was a new thing when it's not. It's a bit uncommon if the domain of deep tech, and especially in Europe, of course, but if 150 million gives us the financing we need for everything we have for the next few years, for the next 2 years. 90% of the money goes into administration. This is not going to build 10 billion might go, or a million might go to building something. The rest of it is stolen through administration, but this industry that is strangling humanity, strangling your future, is making sure you can't have a future. That's what fusion is. That's what small modular reactors. It's a sadistic plot by an industry that entire existence is predicated upon deceit and dishonesty and deception. Period. That's the reality of it. If nuclear fusion can be replicated at an industrial scale, the International Atomic Energy Agency says the technology can provide virtually limitless, clean, safe, affordable energy to meet the world demand. Let's rewrite that. If geothermal can be replicated at an industrial scale, the technology can provide virtually limitless, clean, safe, and affordable energy. There is nothing safe about nuclear. There is nothing safe about nuclear. Just from the neutron bombardments to everybody within many miles of the site. Neutrons, anti-neutrinos were measured 150 miles away in Canada from a nuclear reactor. A kilometer and a half underground in granite. The anti-neutrinos came through the granite 150 miles away, a kilometer and a half deep, and they measured it. That's not a technology you want in your community. Every fuel pool is hemorrhaging man-made anthropogenic isotopes into the environment that attacks everything with replicating cells. This is not a technology that should exist, and that there's nobody on the planet would consent to it if they knew it existed. The entire planet would come out strongly, vehemently, and reject all nuclear if they understood the basic minutiae, the details of the fuel cycle and how harmful that is to everything with replicating cells. And that you can't contain the emissions once you take it out of the reactor. Put it in a fuel pool, there's no containment. Why are we doing this? Because of this fucking industry of cowards and shit for brains and morons and inbreeds is dooming humanity. And why are we allowing that to happen? Why are we sitting in silence? Well, because anybody with a fucking voice is just demonetized and disappeared from the fucking planet. 8 fucking viewers! No offense to the 8 viewers, of course. 8 fucking viewers on a show I've been doing for over a decade. 8! Because I'm a terrible fucking person, right? Because I'm a miserable fucking person. Is that why? Or is it because I'm fucking a good person? You fucking cowards. You look, I can't get my hands on any of you because I kick your fucking teeth down your throat if you have any left in it. You worthless fucking scums that censor me. You worthless fucking parasites. You stupid fucking parasites. You fucking parasites. You cowardly parasites. You monstrous parasites that censor me. You revolting fucking parasites. You cowards. You worthless fucking cowards. You spineless, soulless. You fucking parasites. You fucking maggots. And then the very, very, very last paragraph, not everyone is convinced. Wow, they're going to get fired for a descending fucking voice. America's nuclear energy renaissance needs more cash. 90% of the money stolen through administration. America's nuclear energy renaissance doesn't need cash. It needs to be fucking thrown off a cliff or into a fucking wood chipper. And everybody that participates in it should be just dropped in a fucking wood chipper. Be done with it. Hallelujah. President Donald Trump signed a half a dozen executive orders that means fucking nothing. He said, yeah, well, nuclear can have America. They can. We're not going to do nothing unless it's nuclear, okay? Nuclear, okay? Let me get back to running the country. There you go, I said it. We're not going to do anything unless the nuclear industry says it's good. That's how fucking insane this industry. It captured all your universities, all your regulatory agencies, all your fucking media. It captured all of that. And now the whole country is a slave to an industry that is intent on destroying it just through administration. It's absurd. The whole story is absurd. And it's been done through so much deceit. They're so anal about controlling everything. The only thing they can't control is the power. They can't build the reactors. They can't build the small modular reactors. They can't build the fucking fusion reactors. But the people from the inbreeds from the Manhattan Project that are in the current positions of authority today, the fucking entitled little inbreeds, the chickenecks of chickenecks, the bizardos. If you ever meet any of these people, you know they're fucked in the head the minute you meet them. You're like, holy fuck. What the fuck was that? I'm never going that part of town again. I might see that creature again. They really are the weirdest fucking people you'll ever meet. And they're cowards. They're the strangest fucking cowards you'll ever meet. They're the strangest people you'll ever come across. That's the interesting thing about it, is they're incapable of doing something besides destroying everything they touch. There's no sign yet that the federal government is willing to put up the kind of money or guarantees the experts say is needed. The experts. There's a stretch and a half. So how are you going to have a nuclear renaissance when you don't have the money? Yeah, Trump can sign all the fucking papers, but the industry couldn't get it together. You can throw all the fucking money you got at this industry, and you do, by the way. They still can't produce anything. They're morons who are inbred to take over their parents, the moron parents that they have jobs when they've retired. Without serious financial support, the nuclear may as well balk at building large-scale nuclear reactors, which are famous for cost over. Like, you got to spend $100 million a year on each fucking reactor just to keep it from fucking melting down. It's the stupidest, most idiotic, most inbreed technology we've ever seen. Three Columbian University researchers called on the Trump administration, three Columbia University researchers, to undertake an Operation Warp Speed for nuclear energy. Give us all you got. You can give the nuclear industry every precious resource on the planet. They still can't do anything. They're too fucked up in the head. They're too caught up in their own little tiny, idiotic, little bizarre world that they live in. A massive government commitment to nuclear power could get 20 gigawatts worth of big reactors built by 2035. Are you fucking dreaming? Are you insane to suggest that the nuclear industry could actually build 20 gigawatts in the United States in the next 10 fucking years? Are you insane? What are you talking about? You can't get the supply chain up and running in 10 years. No matter how much money you got, you couldn't do it. You're just incapable of doing anything outside of destroying everybody's future. Because you're in a position where you control the media and you control journalism, you control universities, you control key positions in the government. But all you're good at is stealing the money. You're not good at taking it and doing something with it. Today, there's no large nuclear reactors under construction in the United States because the industry is full of fucking dipsticks and dummies and morons and shit for fucking brains. I apologize, I get a little bit excited sometimes. I had a long day. Not necessarily a good one either, but I got a lot done today. We had rain today, so I ended up going out and working on everything I can get fucking work on, trying to get healthy enough to do things, right? So working in both of the sheds today, working on a bunch of equipment all day, and I just wouldn't give up until like 6 o'clock before I finally gave it up. I was like, well, I could do this. Let me get that done. Let me get this out of the fucking way. I got a list out there. I got at least 2 weeks straight work out there. I just got to force myself out there every day and work on things. But I'll accomplish more than the nuclear industry ever will. On top of that, I actually do things. For now, tomorrow is on research expeditions tomorrow, on field studies, looking for species tomorrow. Out of 46 million birds, the last trip I didn't see a single fucking bird. We're in the biggest migratory spot on the entire planet. Nuclear industry has killed the fucking food chain. The biggest migratory spot on the planet where 46 million birds are supposed to be here raising their fledglings. I can't find a fucking bird. I can't even find a crow or a seagull. I guess I can find if I go up to McDonald's. That's where the seagulls are too. Oh, we got Shit for Brains is back as usual. The human cunt. Kaylee the cunt. Engineer debunks widespread myth about nuclear energy. Kind of misleading. Spent nuclear fuel can be recycled to make new fuel and buy. The reason they don't do it is not because it's cheaper for uranium, you cunt. It's because it creates so much pollution. Between Francis La Hague and United Kingdom's Donneray and Sellafield, which used to be Windscale because it melted down, they changed the name. There's 8 million litres a day going into the Atlantic Ocean. She should be made to drink every fucking litre of it. What a fucking cunt this bitch is. What a fucking cunt, man. My third time covering her in the last couple of months. What a fucking cunt. And her idiot sunglasses. Despite widespread misconception, nuclear waste can actually be recycled to create new fuel and byproducts. We've seen videos of her with Robert Hayes, for God's sakes. Imagine how low on the totem pole you got to be to go hang out with that fucker. While the United States does not currently recycle spent nuclear fuel, opting instead to store from several foreign countries, including France too. So what? France fucking does it. That don't mean they're fucking right or smart. French poisoned everybody in the French Polynesians. Why don't you go to fuck down there, Kaylee, or whatever the fuck your stupid name is, and tell them how lucky they are. Tell the children with congenital malformations how fucking lucky they are. You fucking bitch. A PhD student at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, Kaylee Cunt, who posted on her Miss Nuclear Energy, who lies in every fucking video, is here to set the record straight. In a TikTok video. So what she does is they make up a TikTok account and come in and say something that they're trying to promote, like used fuel, say can't be used, and then she'll come out with a video and MIT and the students will all promote it.
Recycle nuclear waste from the Department of Energy's website.
So what if the Department of Energy fucking tells you they can recycle it? They don't, because it's illegal, you cunt, because it polluted the entire fucking countries where they're doing it.
Nuclear fuel can be recycled. The simplified version of how it works is...
The fuck are you doing?
You have your uranium-238 and 235 fuel rods. The 235 burns off as you're doing fission to make electricity. And the leftover 238 you can then take and put into another reactor.
She's in a closet?
Reactor called a breeder reactor.
A breeder reactor, really. Every breeder reactor they use, melt it down, you cunt. She's a worthless fucking human.
In the breeder reactor, it's going to get slammed with neutrons and transmutate into plutonium to...
Transmutate into plutonium, which killed every dog in every experiment. A breeder reactor, when she takes the fuel out, is hemorrhaging plutonium into your communities, into your food chain. It attacks everything with replicating cells. Evil fucking
39.
Cunt.
Basically alchemy.
Alchemy. Perpetual disease factories, more like it. Yeah. Listen.
That plutonium we can then put back into another reactor and use it to fission and make more electricity. We don't do this in the...
Like, literally a worthless cunt who comes out and lies for the nuclear industry in order to graduate from her class because she's not smart enough to do it normally.
U.S. right now because it's cheaper to just mine for more uranium. Anyway, kind of misleading to call it waste. That's
bitch.
why the narrative shifting towards spent or used nuclear fuel.
Fucking
not
bitch.
unusable.
And look at this. Her sunglasses. As if she's actually a person, even remotely good. It is absurd to suggest. How can these fucking people post all these videos of propaganda and still be classified as a fucking human? How does that work? How does it work? UK pumps 14 billion in a nuclear plant on the path to net zero, which is a paper written by Miles Allen. Hang on. And there's a huge petition to get rid of this fucking clown right there. There's nothing good about the fucking nuclear industry. There's nothing good about this industry. They don't have a single person in the industry that's even likable. Net Zero was a paper by Miles Allen. He's got a cushy job at Cambridge in the United Kingdom right now. And that single fucking paper that he wrote is used to bludgeon humanity with because it was sucked up by the UN, which is a military-industrial complex, and also described as the New World Order by George Bush Sr. UK pumps $14 billion. They didn't pump it in there. They still haven't made up their whole mind yet. They're still not 100%. They're waiting on other things before they actually spend the fucking money on a path to net zero. Rolls-Royce has won a competition, become the preferred bidder to build a small modular reactor That's not small. It's a massive 500 megawatt reactor. They couldn't come up with a design for a small modular reactor, so they took a big one and then called it a small modular reactor. The industry is unbelievably incapable. And then this is not an opinion. This is an undeniable fact. UK is back where it belongs. Taking the lead in technologies of tomorrow. These are cliches. These are not assertions. These are not based upon data and facts. These are conjectures. The UK is refocused on shoring up nuclear power since the start of the war in Ukraine. Apparently the UK is who started the war in Ukraine, and then artificially caused massive inflation by refusing to take any commodities from Russia, and they couldn't replace it anywhere else. And so they caused massive inflation. Which was Boris the Monster Johnson, right? In the name of energy security, faces with a fleet of aging power stations. No, this is the $14 billion is a joke. Hinkley Point is going to cost $57 billion. And so is Sizewell. $14 billion is not even a fraction. It's 1/3 rather of what it's going to cost to build it. They don't have the investors. Nobody wants to invest in a technology that's going to be 20 years before it comes to fruition. They're not out there now breaking ground or something. They're years and years, even if they got the money sitting there, they're still years and years away from breaking ground. You can't break ground without the rest of the money. The UK refocused on shoring up nuclear power since the start of the war in Ukraine in the name of energy security, faced with a fleet of aging power stations. It's searching for another partner to join the project, not just a partner. You're going to need another $30 billion minimum, which is still going to come in under the price of Hinkley Point C. How is that going to work? So they're going to need at least another 4 times that amount. Then we'll deliver a final investment decision, Prime Minister. So when they get the money, if they get another partner, then they will deliver a final investment decision. So this is a conjecture that they're going to do it. It's an opinion. It's not based upon, they're not going ahead and building it. Now they announced $14 billion, which is nowhere near enough. The government wants to increase the nuclear power share. Not the government. The nuclear industry wants the government to increase the nuclear power share of the energy mix. And saying it does not emit carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Like, you got to be a fucking degenerate to say something like that. The reactor, after 14 months when you're taking fuel out and putting it in the pool, is hemorrhaging anthropogenic man-made radiation fallout into the atmosphere on a scale that is terrifying. Carbon is good. Carbon is more birds, more insects, more puppies, more humans, more species. Nuclear is the destruction of every species. What a fucking cunt that bitch is. What a fucking cunt that bitch is, man. Idiot. An actual idiot. I fucking get cranky because we're going to lose the planet. And the world's not fighting back. And I'm censored like... The most I had on my show now is 10 fucking people. Bless your hearts. 10 people. Some of them from the nuclear industry, no doubt. 10 people, wow. 13 votes, wow. 14 votes on my poll, wow. On a show I've been doing over a decade straight, 5 days a week. Should nuclear power be banned considering Fukushima caused worldwide mass extinction level event? Oh, that's why they banned me tonight, is it? Because of the poll. It's always something. That's what the nuclear industry is. It's a perpetual coward. An industry of cowards. There's no other industry like it. There's so many cowards. There's so many cowards. There's so many cowards you can't keep up with it. Don't worry about what I say, man. Worry about the fact you're not saying nothing. Why ain't you saying? I'm swearing because you're sitting in silence all the time. You got a voice to come and criticize me. You haven't got a voice to come out and attack them. What's wrong with you? Smarten up. Come on over to the winning side. Start fucking coming out and pounding this industry. I wouldn't have to do it. Anyway. The reason we're in so much trouble is because everybody remains silent. That's why we're in so much trouble. There's people afraid to call it like it is. And then they expect things to change. No problem coming out and criticizing me, but refusing to come out and be heard. It's the most frightening part of humanity right now. So the song I'm going to play tonight for closing is called Nuclear Belgium. I just put it in the comments section in the chat room. It'll show up 12 hours if you're watching this later, because my chat room won't show up for 12 hours till the nuclear industry has censored the fuck out of my video. Have a great night. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. And there's a link to this song in the chat room. You take care now.
"100 hands, reverse the law. Phase one set, now put on pause. They claimed the grid could not endure and fed the myth of power pure. The fuel was buried, not the plan. It only waits for votes to stand. From all they stacked the vessels deep. Hands ran long though did not sleep. No chant was sung, no grave was raised. Just softer lights in western bays. A farmer passed through fields unclaimed. No one asked what wasn't named. Nuclear Belgium, hear the ground. Not a soul to turn it down. Nuclear Belgium, soul that's clean. Ballots cast, the elites decree. Nuclear Belgium, built to last. But the river learns too fast. They wrote it down in 23, then turned the page before the plea. The cause they pitched became a door, a lease renewed without a floor. The mask was spun in policy, but no one asked the river's fee. Nuclear I'll tell the child in Malta today what steams beneath the concrete base. Dessel's drums into me lie, and NATO carries what we weigh. The wind from Flanders bends its back, the scaffold stands but none look back. Nuclear Belgium, hear the ground, not a soul to turn it down. Nuclear Belgium, sold as clean, ballots casted, elites decree. Nuclear Belgium,